does your vision and your work ethic align? If they do, you'll get there. If they don't, you got a problem. If you want to work for a true visionary, it's not going to be easy. I genuinely believe that's put in by God. Like when he gives you a vision, it really is yours to conquer. And most people have it. What they lack is the tenacity, resilience, work ethic to achieve it. If you want to live a big life, you got to be able to take big risks and sacrifice more than the average person. You have to have a vision. And not only do you have to have it, you have to share it. If you have one person, that's great. You have 5 people, you could take over the world.
Welcome to the Free Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Scott DeVore, aka Free. Special guest today. We're in Valuetainment. We're at 5990 Live. I'm with the one and only Tayler De Grande. Taylor, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Feeling unstoppable, my friend. It's great to see you.
Hey, well, I'm glad you said that because, man, I just want to know what makes you unstoppable.
Yes. So, funny story, I guess you could say. I don't know if it's funny, but on how that actually came to be is, typically people are like, well, how are you? And you're like, good, okay, could be better. Like, those are like the common responses. And one time Leo, who is a manager within BDC, he sends me this reel of this guy, how he's talking about like words have power and repetition is good. And he's like, so when someone asks you how you are, use a powerful word. And with that came unstoppable. And so like when I would say it all the time, and now I'm like, it actually, I would see it then in certain places. Like I was at church one time and they were talking about like Acts chapter 5. And it's like, if it's from man, it can be stopped. But if it's from God, it's unstoppable. And so like, it just kept resonating with me. And then I would have other people like, I need to find my word. And so it just kind of clicked. Instead of good, it's unstoppable.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. So it wasn't like going to Google, what's a powerful word? It had some meaning, from a passage in a sermon at church. I love it. So I've known you for a little over a year. Mm-hmm. It was July 4th, 2023. I was waiting. So I just really started to get into Valuetainment and PBD. I'm surprised and a little upset at myself that I wasn't following PBD for longer than what I have been. And I knew there was this deal coming up on Vault tickets. It was a buy one, get one, July 4th. So I go on the Valuetainment website and I go on there and sure enough, I get a call on a holiday, July 4th, from Valuetainment, and it's you.
Yes.
Working on July 4th. And I was super impressed, just with the level of professionalism. Like you weren't trying to like sell me. I think I even said, hey, it's a holiday, getting ready to do stuff with the family. Mm-hmm. We can set up a time. But just that pursuit of being the best in your field of sales extremely impressed me. And we built this relationship for over a year now. And just happy to be here, sit down with you. I know I sat down with Tom as well. He's a great mentor of mine. But I think of you as a mentor and an advisor. You give me so much guidance and knowledge, and I really appreciate all that you do. But I want to kind of go through your background. So this is what I think your background is. And then I'm going to have you fill in the gaps because I'm impressed. And the reason why I'm going to do it, because it reminds me a little bit about my story. Because I think to kind of think of a way to summarize it, I think there was a bold move in it. Mm-hmm. So you're from Michigan.
Yes. You
played soccer, athlete. You get into, entrepreneurial, get into real estate. You find a mentor. You're having success, helping him be successful while you're getting successful through this personal development journey. You discover, PBD, patrickbetdavid. You start really getting into his content. And then I think you saw that he was hiring. And then you looked into it, and then within a moment, you decided if I can get a job, I'm going to go where he's at. And next thing you know, you got an interview, and then you just decide that you get the job. You move from Michigan to Florida to work. Am I pretty accurate on that?
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence to bet on yourself in that way?
Yeah, it's a few things, right? Looking back, I realize I've always had somewhat of that personality. And I feel that some of it is like from your upbringing, right? My mom, she is someone who's always just made it happen. And my parents divorced at a young age. Haven't spoken to my father since I was in high school. And then I see my mom like just be resilient and always doing things. And I think that had a large impression on me on how she acted. But I also feel there was part of me who like was escaping that too. So I was like, okay, I went off to college. Then I moved out of it to Illinois. Then I got into real estate. My mom did real estate though too. So there was always that level of kind of chasing something. And I feel some of that's your upbringing. I also feel some of that is like God-given. Like something's planted in you for a purpose and for a reason, and you just don't fully understand that, and it unravels as your journey continues, and as you grow older and you kind of start to realize it, and then you reflect back, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that was God in all of those areas. But so there was always that in me. Like I just knew I'd figure it out, right? Like I have a big life, big dreams, and ultimately I rely on my faith. Like God put me here for a reason. What is it? I have to figure it out. But also who did play a big role in it too is Patrick, because I did follow him for so many years, and I just believed in him and the mission and like what he was doing, what he was talking about. He was a bold leader. So when the opportunity came and he posted a video, I thought Valuetainment was just YouTube channel. Like I just followed YouTube and followed the podcast, and he's like, you know what? We're hiring. And I'm like, what? I can go work for Patrick Bet-David? Like whatever this man's doing, I want to be a part of it. And at that point, like I knew I didn't really want to be a realtor forever. I would always invest in real estate, but I was looking for that next. I wanted to start my own business, and God was like, honey, you have no idea what you're doing. Let you go here. And so literally as soon as I saw that, went on pbd.com or Valuetainment and looked at jobs. I was like, oh my God, like I can work for Patrick Bet-David. So redid my resume, applied the next day, and then literally got myself an interview. They said, why would you want to work for Valuetainment? And my answer was, because we're going to save America. And I believe that. Mm-hmm. And so I don't even think we talked about the actual job. I left there, and they were like, my mom was like, so what are you going to be doing? I was like, Mom, I really don't know. They like sell merchandise. She's like, what are you going to be paid? I was like, again, I have no idea, but like, I'm going to work for Patrick Bet-David. So there's a little bit of who I am. And I believe that's fully God and having faith in him, unreliable. That's number one. And then it's also a leader. It's Patrick, because I'm following him, right? There's a level of trust there.
Yeah. I recall you saying a question was asked to you, what's the best thing about working with Patrick? And you said, he's a leader with a vision. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I love that. Like I need to be a leader with a vision. You've worked with him a couple years now, however long it's been. There's a lot of leaders with visions, but what is it about Patrick's vision that aligns with you?
That aligns with me? That's a good question. I would say what aligns with me and what attracted to me originally is the underlying belief in what it is, what makes America great. Like thinking in the past, and I'll bring it back to Patrick, is there was during a time, it was my last year in college, and I'm like, I should probably start thinking like paying attention to politics. Had no idea. I was like, I'd probably be on the left because I love the environment and certain things like that. And then when I started paying attention, I just realized there was like a growing animosity towards America. And to me, I'm like, this is such a great country. Like, look at all the freedoms and look at everything, the opportunities that we have. And there's a level of frustration. So through that, I'm seeking out information, which I came across Patrick and his story of being from Iran, an immigrant coming here, believing in freedom, capitalism, that you can be whoever you want to be. Yeah. And then also being bold enough to speak on things that many people are not. I have a lot of respect for that. And so I was like, I have Made in America tatted on the side, because like I just believe so much in the founding principles, the founding fathers, what they did, the story, the idea of America. So having a leader that supports that in a way that is also like faith-based, and he brings that back, and you can just tell like he's a family man. I don't have that father figure. He kind of fills that role in a way, and so I admire that a lot. So there's just a lot of areas from country, values, principles, faith, family man that aligned with me that I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah, he says born in Iran, made in America. I mean, his story resonates with me, because my mom, she immigrated from Vietnam and came here, married my dad. So my dad, he's a white dude, American. And my parents unfortunately divorced pretty early when I was 8. But I remember asking my mom when I was a little bit older, like, Mom, like, why did you never teach us how to speak Vietnamese? Why is that? And she's like, I just wanted you guys to be American. Because to her, leaving a war and everything that, all that tribulation that she went through, the communist, North coming down, taking over, taking away the freedom, executing the South Vietnamese people that were, on the American side. She didn't want any of that to be, part of my upbringing. She just wanted to be be American, because America to her was freedom. And I respect that. I mean, I wish you would have taught me some of that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm smart enough to probably, if I really wanted to, I could learn how to speak it if I, put the time and effort in. But just the fact that and she's not an educated person. She's been working as a janitor her whole life, but to her, she loves this country.
How beautiful is that?
It is a very beautiful
thing. It's like not everyone, because you're right, she's Vietnamese. Where else in the world can you go there and become? You can't become Vietnamese. You can live in Vietnam. You can't become Australian. You can live in Australia, but you can become an American.
No doubt.
And so that's just so beautiful.
Yeah. And even though she hasn't had like uber success, but like, her kids, like my brother's very successful, works in private equity. We have a younger sister, myself as well. So man, I love PBD and his story, but let me ask you this, man, it must be challenging working for PBD. Like I'm assuming there's no tolerance for mediocrity. What is it like being in a company that has the highest standards that there is? Like, is it stressful, or does it make you rise to a level that you didn't even think you could win at?
Yeah, it's a lot of things. It's both of those things, and there's levels to it, right? What I mean by that is the standard's always high because we strive for excellence. Now, but the higher proximity you have to Patrick, the higher level of leadership, the more pressure there is to live up to those standards, right? You're not gonna, if you're someone who, and this is no diss, you need everybody, but if you're someone who's working front desk, or you're just an editor, or you're a sales guy, you're gonna be treated differently than a sales manager, than an executive, than someone who's reporting directly to Patrick, And it reminds me of this time I think I may have shared this video with you because I love this clip, because we were at a book of the month meeting. We read a book every single month. We have a team, and Patrick's like, man, I bet you guys all thought it was like rainbows and butterflies to work with him because he's Patrick Bet-David. He's so good on these podcasts. And he's like, no one built a massive empire being peaceful all the time. We're in the wartime. We're looking for leaders. And that is the mentality, because someone like Patrick, working for him, the quote that it reminds me of is, a leadership is having people do something that they wouldn't do on their own, something of that nature. And that's Patrick. He's a driver. He sells, he drives, he pushes your buttons, he knows how to navigate, like he knows how to push you a little bit further. And so is it stressful? Yeah. I always say pressure is a privilege. Like I'll be like, pressure is a privilege. I'll be like, yeah, I feel the pressure, but it's a privilege because it means they believe in you. And so, but with that, it's the same thing when they say like pressure creates diamonds. Like pressure, without that, you wouldn't become your best self. And so he provides an example because he's putting in the work. It's not like someone who's not working. Like Patrick's everywhere and I don't even know how. Like he's on a podcast and he's doing this, he's driving his, and then he also provides an opportunity, because although I work a lot and there's a lot of pressure to perform, I've done things I would never do. Or at least I would dream of them. But like the fact that I was just in the Kentucky Derby and I'm there with Candace Owens and Patrick Bet-David, and then I go to the New York Yankees, and it's like, do I put in the work for those things? Yeah, but like you're putting in the work for a vision, for a dream. Like he makes sure, like if you're coming through on your commitments, he'll give you the world.
Yeah. And
like you just got to come through. You just got to do your part. He'll do his part. And so to answer your question, if you want to work for a true visionary, it's not going to be easy. That's just as simple as that. You think of Steve Jobs, you think of Elon Musk. There ain't peaches and cream work, obviously the late Steve Jobs, but these are visionaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a privilege, but of course, yeah.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital. We are a multi-service construction, real estate, and development company. We do services from ground-up development to roofing services to real estate transactions. Reach out to us at 844-4DEVORE or at the website link below. Yeah. No, your effort is recognized because I see you, world traveler. I see you at all these places. Yeah, I see you hosting the masterminds. I mean, I know that that is earned. Like, that's just like, who wants to do it? Who wants to go on these trips? I know you're putting in the work. I think you got a ring or something the other day. Look at that. Got the bling. What is it like engaging with so many different entrepreneurs, right? You talk to business owners like me. I work in construction and real estate, every industry imaginable. Like, what are kind of the commonalities that you see, or like the unique things that kind of separate those who are actually going to like the next levels?
Yeah. One of my favorite things about what I get to do is talking to business owners. Like, I kid you not, and I would bet money on this, entrepreneurs have the most fascinating stories of anyone you'll ever meet. Because there's a reason they become entrepreneurs, even if they don't know it at first. Like, they're tenacious, they're resilient, they figure things out because usually they've gone through something, they had a tough childhood, or they just figure things out, and they just have a story, and it's an incredible story. So I get to talk and learn about entrepreneurs all day, every day, and it's fascinating. And so what I find the commonalities in general, but then the ones that really make it, one is the resilience and pragmatic, because what is an entrepreneur's job? It's to solve people's problems, whether it's within your company or your clients' problems, right? Like, you do construction. What are you doing? You're solving the problems of the clients that you work for. And so and you have to be tenacious, because Patrick talks about a lot about this too. Like, there's no one that has more pressure or is fired more than the entrepreneur. Someone quits on you, that's not like you're getting fired. You have to make sure that everything works out because you're paying the salaries. All the pressure's on you at the end of the day. And so that creates a level of tenacity and true leadership within entrepreneurs. And that's why we believe business owners are heroes. That part of the vision of what is Valuetainment, BDC is the pillar of that, because it's the best operators from around the world that are coming together for shared value, shared principles. But the ones that really make it versus the ones that don't, I feel that a lot of it has to do with fear. And I love that your podcast, plays into that. And what I mean by that is whether it be fear to invest in themselves or fear of not wanting to say too much because of what people will think, that will limit their success. Like, you cannot let fear hold you back. Although people feel it in all different areas, it's like you have to lean into that. And you're going to fail. But the people who make it, they failed more than the people who didn't. They just didn't fear it. And I think Albert Einstein says that the people that are most successful, they just stuck with their problems long enough. So they didn't move on from it. They stayed there. And so that's who's most successful. They're resilient. They keep going. They don't let fear stop them. And at the end of the day, I've also seen like faith. Like, if a business owners have faith, like, nothing will stop them,
Yeah. Man, you're dropping some wisdom here. Your career reminds me, and I don't know if it was Dale Carnegie or Napoleon Hill, or if it was from Master Key to Riches or How to Win Friends and Influence People. But the premise of that book was he spent 10 years unpaid of just going around the country interviewing business owners and taking all that knowledge to write this one of the best books of all time, Master Key to Riches. Mm-hmm. And your role is similar to that, and you're working with what I would say is the best entrepreneur of time, Patrick Bet-David. It's a great opportunity.
Oh my God!
And this wisdom that you're dropping. I mean, I'm sure you've always were dropping wisdom, but just think of the 2 years you've been here of just soaking all that in, almost insane. Directly every single day.
Yeah, it's like I literally say, screw an MBA. I have an MBA of BDC because it's one Patrick, right? Like, right before this, I was in a meeting with Patrick, and you're learning directly from someone who, for all the experience that he has, I believe is a true visionary. He's going to do great for this world. He's one of those leaders. So having access to him, which is an extremely great privilege. The biz doc, learning from Tom. Tom's a wealth of knowledge. Like, he really is brilliant. Having conversations with business owners like yourself all day, every day, processing issues. Like, the person you're talking to today, although like I would like to say that I've always been interesting and like wanting to be a better version of myself. I mean, it's been exponential because of the environment that I've gone in. I mean, they say your environment, you're the average of the people you spend the most time with. That couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm grateful that person is Patrick and Tom and these business owners. And it's exponential growth. And that's why I always say to anyone, and I give commandments to you, and like, you're always investing in your team and you're being a part of these masterminds and going to these networking events, having higher level conversations, like, that's what gets you to the next level. Not only from the information, but the frequency, like the energy that you're living at. Because like most people are like living here. Then you have the business owners, the big thinkers, they're up here. And if you're at that frequency, it's just a matter of time where you attract that into your life. Yeah.
Pat talks about it often, is he would never go to an event by himself. he would always bring someone, minimum biz doc.
Yeah.
And I knew the same thing. If I would have went to the vault the first time by myself last year, I could never have done it justice to explain to everybody. So last year, we brought 4 people. This year, we're bringing 4 or 5 times that many, because that duplication of them being here, that frequency, getting that energy. And when you go to those events, the emotions are high and major life decisions are made. So we're excited. We're fired up. We can't wait for it, and everything that you guys are doing. Let me kind of get specific on BDC, Bet David Consulting. It's a newer consulting company. I believe there's big visions to build it into a powerhouse one day. And I know a lot of energy is going into it, just like the podcast and Connect and, some of the other things. How much have you seen BDC Consulting grow since you kind of started? Because I know he's not ready to kind of take on they're not going to be playing at the same level as like Bain Capital or, right yet. Like it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But what's the short-term vision for where BDC is going?
Yeah. And it's like, big term real quick, we believe we will be the biggest consulting firm, and the difference between BDC and some of these other consulting firms is those giving advice to expert operators like Patrick, like Tom, Will Guidera, and many more to come. They haven't just read it in a book. You know what I mean? They don't just have an MBA. They have real life experience of owning and operating businesses. So everything that they're sharing, they've done before, which is an edge, right? And what separates BDC from that, and where we see short term, the difference between BDC outside of just that is we have the community aspect. I mean, we have entrepreneurs from across the globe, over 150 different countries, that are tapping into this network where you can have relationship and build relationship with these individuals. That's huge. It's massive. And so short term is really honing in on the community aspect when it comes to, because right now we have the masterminds, we have the coaching, with the one-on-ones and the events. But eventually we'll have the infrastructure, because you mentioned the growth. When I first started with the company, there were 7 of us in BDC, 26 of us in the company. Now we have 40 of us in BDC and 115 of us in the company. So there's a level of sequencing because you need the infrastructure, right? And the people and the supportive cast and all of that. But we're going to have the vault coming up here, 10,000 people there, business owners. What is that for? It's an incubator of community, business owners, ideas, operators, because the more you grow, the more your business grows, the more successful the idea of freedom, capitalism, it works, right? So first it's honing into Florida, then it's honing into the US. And when I mean honing in, like establishing our foundation, our building. We're growing out of the building, we can't even fit. Then we'll have pockets in the different BDCs across the US, then eventually the world. There'll be a vault in Dubai. There'll be a vault in Australia. There'll be a vault in Japan. And so we're spreading this idea of what it is to be an entrepreneur with shared values, shared principles, because you have BDC there, you have media side, which is the podcast, all of that. And 10, 15 years from now, when Patrick starts opening up universities, it's not just a teacher teaching the next generation, it's someone like Scott who's actually built something to teach the next generation.
Yeah. So with all the kind of, I'm going back to a little bit of the question I asked before, but with what BDC Consulting is doing, with all the entrepreneurs and business owners that you talk to, what is like the biggest challenge or biggest challenges that you see, and how does BDC help them right now address those? Yeah.
Biggest, most common challenge is definitely people. Finding the right employees, finding the right people, and then like not only finding them, but keeping them. It's definitely the team. And that's across industries. It doesn't matter what industry, it's people. And where we help a lot, and where Patrick, Tom, and the other expert operators and everyone within our programs help, is finding different systems to find the right people. What do I mean by that? Asking the right questions, filtering up front. Oh, really? You do that? And sometimes it's very simple, right? But it's adding a few key questions. It's maybe where you're sourcing them at. It's maybe your interview process. Instead of 1 interview, you should be doing 3. And you should be doing it in a certain sequencing. Okay. Then once you bring them on, establishing and being able to identify they're in the right position. Do you promote within? Do you hire without? At what level? At the beginning stages, low 7 figures, even till within 5-10, you're kind of like, you have loyal people. They've been with you a long time. So they've helped you. But then you hit that cap where it's like, okay, none of us have been a part of an organization at that level, where to get to the 20, 30, 50, 100 million, we need more of those specialized skills. Okay, so how do I attract them? And then it's building out the sequencing of it. It's helping identify the descriptions, the compensation. I don't want to, like these people can be very expensive. Yeah, well, what if we create a compensation that's salary plus commission? There's more incentives to it. We'll break that down. What are you driving in your business? We're driving this. Okay, how do you tie that to the compensation? So it's a customized approach based off what the business is solving for. But the number one thing is people. Finding them, attracting them, keeping them, retaining them, building them. That's number one.
Yeah, no doubt. It's my biggest challenge to this day. And I've been operating for 9 years, and we're just always learning, processing, getting, advice and mentorship and coaching from you guys helps us to streamline that and hopefully move forward on that faster than if we weren't, sitting here having these conversations.
I am Will with DCRE, DeVore Capital Real Estate. We want to help you with your buying and selling real estate transactions. We know in the economy and the market that we have today, everybody is telling you that it is impossible to buy or to sell. We know that we can get the deal done. Give us a call at 844-4DeVore or hit the link below. Have a great day.
So I think you're really early in your journey. You got a lot of career ahead of you, but you're I don't know if you're Gen Z or what generation you are, but you seem to be an anomaly, right? I think.
What am I?
You seem to stand out where most younger people don't have the drive that you have. Like, what makes you different?
Mm-hmm. I'm a millennial. That's what I am.
Millennial.
I was like, wait, what am I? And it goes back to really, when it comes to work ethic, my mom, when my parents split up, she worked 2 jobs. She worked in real estate. She worked at a restaurant, like to make ends meet, to make sure that we were taken care of. And money was always an argument among my family. Like, it was something I was like, I'm just going to work so I don't have to ask either of my parents for money, because like it's always a fight. So I think part of that, even though I didn't realize it at the time, just realized like I just get to work. You know what I mean? So, but again, I've just always been a dreamer too. Like, I've always been like, one day, ask any of my friends, one day I'm going to live in Florida. I'm going to live on the beach. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to make money. I'm going to be a fashion designer. So I genuinely believe that's put in by God. Like, when he gives you a vision, it really is yours to conquer. And most people have it. What they lack is the tenacity, resilience, work ethic to achieve it. Mm-hmm. Because they have it. There's a reason, like they're meant for greatness. It's just, they don't have the grit, I guess you could say. But I always had that. My mom worked very hard, so I would never complain. Like, never complain, and she had all the reasons to complain. So that was instilled in me in a young age. And then at the end of the day, I don't know, I just believe in what made America great was hard work. People that got somewhere, like, they were willing to put in the work. And it was very natural and to observe everything. And I'm like, you guys, what we've detached from and why we're seeing the crumbling of society and so much of it is because we don't want to put in the work. We want things that are easy. You read in the Bible, was any of their life, was Moses' life easy? Right. Like, Abraham's life easy? No. So like, I go back to that and I'm like, if you really want to do something big in your life, it's going to be hard. Otherwise, everyone would do it. And so that's very cliche. I know we hear it often, but I come back to that all the time. And at the end of the day, if you want to live a big life, you got to be able to take big risks and sacrifice more than the average person. When you look at Elon Musk, I mean, do you think that man takes like the easy road? Come on. So at the end of the day, it's just like, does your vision and your work ethic align? If they do, you'll get there. Yeah. If they don't, you got a problem.
Yeah. No, I resonate. I think it's definitely God-given, because I remember just thinking back to when I was a teen. I was living in the projects on welfare. I just had this feeling that I was going to do something big with my life. The first thing I wanted to conquer was poverty. Like, my whole goal was, how do I not be poor?
Yeah.
Go to college. Mom was like, just go to college. So I did that, got out, did very well right out of school. But then when I got to that level, I'm like, there's more to this. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't just want to be an employee, even though it's blessed. I'm very blessed to have a 15-year corporate career like I did. But I just wanted to do something that was more impactful. And I thought was being an entrepreneur, having my own company that could make a larger impact than me just being successful working for somebody else.
Yeah.
That was my drive. Last question, man. This is so good. I really appreciate you kind of sharing this knowledge. I mean, we've been talking about big vision, but can you just really, do you have your big vision really identify like where you want to be when your career is all said and done?
I have an idea of it, so I'm clear, but it doesn't mean that things won't change, right? Because I work for someone like Patrick, and opportunities are, he even thinks bigger than me. So sometimes like he challenges my thinking, so I don't even know exactly what's going to be there. But it is very clear in the way of, I would say for myself, when it comes to BDC, being a pillar within BDC, exactly what that looks like. Of course, I want to be the number one team and build out that and work with entrepreneurs. Then the second key to that would be more on the content and the becoming a personality, where I want to sit down and have conversations with business owners and share their stories and let the world know about entrepreneurs and their stories. And then that would be more on like the professional side. I had a vision the other day that I interviewed Patrick at the Vault conference. So, having those level of conversations, I want to be in the meeting when we're having $1 billion negotiations. I want that seat at the table. So that's on the consulting side. Eventually have a fashion brand when I have, once that's established and doing that. And then of course, like, that's taking over the world, big picture, big vision, driving for that. And then of course, family. Like I would never trade that for that, but you can have them both.
Yeah, no doubt. Taylor, any parting advice for entrepreneurs out there?
For entrepreneurs, I would say, at the end of the day, going back to what you said, is you have to have a vision. And not only do you have to have it, you have to share it. You have to tell your team what it is, because they'll buy into you and they'll buy into the vision. And if it's big enough, they'll see their vision in it. And with that, if you have one person, that's great. You have 5 people, you could take over the world. And so having a vision at the end of the day, personally, having faith, you can get through anything.
Awesome. Respect what you do. I got a gift for you. It's a little something.
Thank you.
Just want to share my appreciation for everything that you do for me and for my company, DeVore Capital, for my team. A lot of us know you, but I know you're a Gary Vaynerchuk fan. I don't know if you've had that book, but
I don't.
I thought it would be a nice resource for you to have.
I appreciate it.
Especially as you really kind of ramp up your content game and everything that you got going on.
It's the
He's
goal.
one of the best.
I'm looking forward to it. Day trading attention. That's what you're trying to do, right? That's what we're all trying to do. I love it. I appreciate it. It's been fun. I genuinely appreciate you, all that you've done, what you've built. And again, like I look to you, and you're a great example for a lot of business owners, because although you're always looking to grow yourself, you're always investing back into your team. And you'd probably be surprised at how uncommon that is, but that's what makes you who you are. And I believe you're only at the beginning of your journey. So excited to work together in the future.
I appreciate that. Well, there you go. This is the Free Factor Podcast, signing off with Tayler De Grande with Valuetainment, BetDavid Consulting. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, peace out.
Real interviews, real guests, no actors. Real talk, get prepared for Free Factor.